Hello everyone, this is Japan Shah, founder of JMS Advisory Services Private Limited. We are into an hiring company. We deal with a lot of hiring problems and hiring issues on a daily basis, and we give solutions to our clients. A lot of learnings which we have got from hiring always. So the objective of this and a lot of other videos is to share with the community and the people around on how to hire better, how to hire faster, and how to hire the best resources. So it's a very common thing. We have humans involved into hiring process. So there is a lot of common thing which we see wherein, from a recruiter management perspective or from the founder perspective or the management perspective, many a times you say that, boss, the team is, interviewing a lot of people, but we're not able to close somebody. The team is interviewing a lot of people, but the rejection ratio is very high. Yes, obviously, yes, the quality of resumes received or the quality of candidates appearing could not be great. But apart from this, another aspect which we should also take into consideration, which I term is that hiring bias by the recruiter. So the recruiter himself has his own set of understanding, his own set of experience, and his own set of hiring methodology. So he has his own self thing, which always comes into picture at the time of the interview. So it's the bias towards the candidate from the recruiter can end up into a good hire or a bad hire, both the ends. But yes, for us, very essential is that we don't miss on good candidates and we don't have a bad hire on our um, organization. So to avoid bad hires and to identify good hires and to ensure that good candidates don't run away, there's a short video talking about how we can get away from this hiring bias from a recruiter. So the recruiter needs to understand this, a recruitment manager, the founders, or the management community. It is very helpful. To start with, let us first quickly get through what could be this hiring bias. So let me give you one example. What is currently happening to the tech thing? A lot of interviews happen, and a very few are get shortlisted. The reason being that the compensation of the entry level, so we call this as salary bias or the remuneration bias. The salary of the 3 years or 5 years candidate is higher than the one interviewing him. Maybe the project manager or the senior manager is working from 8 10 years. His current salary is not that great as compared to the person which we are hiring. So many a times what he does is he tries to assess the candidate. The candidate is good, he's not bad, he's good at as a 3 year experience, but he's not great with that compensation range. So the bias of compensation and remuneration does come into picture because of that. So the solution to this bias is that when the interviews happen, maybe the recruiter or the first, second round of interviewer is not made aware of the current or the expected salary of the candidate. We did try this with a lot of our clients, and this is as a practice to a lot of our clients, wherein this has helped in identifying and better shortlisting of candidate because there the only assessment by the interview is on the skill set and the compensation part doesn't come into picture. This is the first kind of bias. Another kind of bias is the bias of education background. So in this bias, many a times a lot of bad hiring happens. So let's say the interviewer or the recruiter or the hiring manager is from a particular, passed out from a particular school, particular college, and he from that college, positive impact of the quality of the candidates of that institute. So what happens is that the comfort zone of hiring that candidate is higher, so the organization always feels that somebody from a ex college is always a good candidate. So that bias many a times helps in recruiting a wrong candidate because every candidate may or may not fit the cultural fit in our organization or may not, maybe his experience could not be the similar one. So another one is this is education bias. So even if the candidate is from the same thing, the assessment quality of the assessment process should remain the same as other candidates and that bias should not come into picture. The third bias, which I strongly feel is happening, is is kind of an professional experience bias. So the past experience of the candidate which you are hiring. So ABC companies. At times you feel that these are the companies who have strong process, they have a strong product, or maybe they are your competitors, and they have a strong technical team. And so many a times interviewing candidates from your competitors or candidates who have worked with that kind of organizations, you have a bias that that person would be a good candidate. So you end up hiring that candidate, and after the candidate is on board, he joins, you come to know that he is not that great a candidate. So that bias always comes into picture. So even if the candidate is from your go-to company, is from your competitor company, is having into a similar role, do not get in bias and ensure that you get into the proper process of hiring the candidate. The fourth one, which I feel is kind of a appearance bias or a beauty bias. Many a times, so there are two aspects to it. One is the when you meet a candidate, we always say the first impression is the last impression. But what we have seen is, nowadays post COVID, it's been a long time. Candidate may be good, but maybe during that interview he could not have been dressed that great. He would not be keeping that great on the day of the interview. And many a times, looking at the candidate, you had a feeling that this guy is not the right individual for our organization. And so the line of questioning doesn't go as long, and you end up the interview very, very quickly, rush towards it with a bias that this individual may not be good. So again, in such cases, ensure that you don't get up and get through into it. Follow the process. Even if this is the same, ask certain questions, which we say trigger questions. Prepare a list of trigger questions to ensure things don't go in that manner. To get away from this bias, we strongly suggest you have this trigger questions specific on the biases. There are many other biases which can come across to individuals while hiring. These are some very common biases which we have identified while talking to our clients, talking to a lot of candidates, seeing the hits and misses of them in hiring. Another one is, some candidates have a very strong sports background. He's been a national player. He's represented certain, sport in his school or in his college. He's been into a leadership role somewhere in his activities at college, or drama, extracurricular activities. So, a lot of companies and recruiters and managers have a bias in hiring these people. And again, that's another bias to be taken care of. So yes, so this was a very brief video, friends, on how recruiters can get into an hiring bias and how to stay away from this hiring bias. I hope this has been useful to you, and we'll again come back with few such set of small videos, smaller than this one, to share the experience and learnings which we have from our day-to-day things. Thank you very much.